Would you have produced cartoons of the type published by Charlie Hebdo?
Well, the chances are I would not have, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have been published, nor should the cartoons' lives been put at risk for doing so. You know, this is a conversation that we've been having for decades since the Danish cartoonist first appeared, and it's an interesting one. I'm glad we're discussing it now.
Why wouldn't you have done images like that yourself?
Well, you know, whenever you do cartoons, you're being very conscientious about the audience that you're trying to reach and the point you're trying to make. And there's as many different cartoonists as there are comedians, as there are musicians, and they have all different kinds of perspectives and approaches to their work. And with my audiences, with both the Economist and the Baltimore Sun, they wouldn't necessarily respond well to these type of cartoons. And I try to do cartoons that, in my world, is not racist or sexist. That's, you know, what I would like to do. And I look at other cartoons that I don't necessarily agree with, and many of them, let's say, I don't even like. But I still think that they should have the right to be able to be published.
Myriam, is there a difference between cartoons which comment, perhaps savagely, and cartoons which set out to offend?
I think obviously that's in the eye of the beholder to some extent, but I suppose my concern really is with the politicisation of these deaths to some extent, so that actually the murder of these people, these journalists and 2 police officers and now more police officers in the wake, in fact, is a national tragedy, but it's one that's being instrumentalised through a sort of binary construction between free speech on one side and sort of offended Muslims on the other. And the concern there really is that that plays into the hands of the very extremists who set out on this mission. I suspect that their objective wasn't so much to target free speech, as we're hearing so much.
I mean, I think they said that they had avenged the Prophet.
Of course, and I'm not suggesting that that wasn't part of the motivation, but I think if we're looking at the background of some of the jihadists, it does suggest that they've got links to broader international networks that are trying to sow division within European societies in order to recruit Muslims by suggesting that they don't have a place in Europe, that conditions in Europe are becoming intolerable for Muslims. And in doing so, in fact, this attack actually plays right into the hands of the far right. They would have known that. They would have known that that would have led to national discussions which would have been placing ever greater pressure on Muslims. And this is something we're hearing from French Muslims, their fear that actually this is going to end up polarising society even further than it has been.
Noman, do you think that's true? Do you think it is going to be harder to be a Muslim in France as a result of what's happened?
Well, yes. Actually, I'm not afraid about terrorism. I'm afraid about the consequences on the society. And yes, I feel that. I feel a lot of tension. I hope it's just a feeling and it's not true, but I can feel that. And by being a comedian, it's not about if doing a joke or not doing a joke. Is why are you doing this joke or why are you not doing this joke? And if the reason you're not doing this joke is fear, is the bad reason. We are here, we're standing for freedom like everybody, and it's not about Arabs or Islam, absolutely not. It's about craziness, and this is it.
Did you find Charlie Hebdo funny?
Craziness.
Noman, did you personally like Charlie Hebdo? Do you find it funny?
Well, I don't find all the jokes funny, of course. As a Muslim, I don't find this drawing especially relevant, maybe. But as a gay can be, I'm not offended by a joke. It's not possible to be offended by a joke in my point of view, but maybe I don't like them, I don't find them funny, and that's it. And that's it. It's not a question about you have to do in it or not. This is it. I got friends who work for Charlie Hebdo, and I'm okay with that. This is only jokes, this is only comedy, and if a joke doesn't work, it doesn't mean you have...
Okay, yeah, thank you. I mean, Cal,
Sorry?
It's the main purpose of a cartoon, a political cartoon, to be funny, to be amusing. What do you set out to do when you draw a cartoon?
Well, you know, when you're an editorial cartoonist, you live within two polarities. You know, you got editorial, which is serious, cartoon that is funny, and then every day you kind of plot yourself in a different part of that spectrum according to the appropriateness of the subject matter and your own personal style and taste. I like to say that political cartoonists really are columnists on the whole. They're using pictures and humor to you get a point. That's usually what we're trying to do, not get a laugh. That's sort of topical humor rather than say, satire. But one of the things I wanted to mention is that, whenever we do a cartoon, every single cartoon we do ticks somebody off because we're dealing with ridicule and caricature, and it's always at someone's expense. And if we're in the business of worrying all the time about who we're offending, we just have to stop drawing.
Myriam, what about you? What function do you think magazines like Charlie Hebdo serve?
Well, actually, historically, Charlie Hebdo served a really great function. It spoke truth to power, which is ideally what you'd want the press to be doing. But I think, if I'm to quote Olivier Cyran, who's a former Charlie Hebdo employee, he himself said that post 9/11, Charlie Hebdo had taken a racist turn, that he actually himself objected to some of the images that they were using because he himself felt that it was contributing to a broader climate of anti-Muslim hatred in France. And so he would object to that himself. I would say that there were some images of Charlie Hebdo today who continue to take the traditional stance of speaking truth to power. There is some great satire in there, but there is also some a much darker undertone to some of the images which really need questioning and have been questioned prior to this event. Racist undertones which have to be called out and should be called out, but of course are never, ever going to be an excuse for violence against journalists.